Hi, my name is John, and today I'm going to talk about the Dallas County Jail Diversion Court Program. So, Dallas County is one of the more progressive counties in Texas. Um, Unlike most of Texas, that's focused solely on punishment for people that break the law, no matter what their circumstances. Counties like Dallas, Harris County, and Bexar have looked for alternatives um, to incarceration. In Dallas County, it's their jail diversion court. So we've heard all the statistics about the U.S. jails and prisons having 25% of the world's prison population. But our jails and prisons are the leading mental health providers in this country. And we got here several ways. And, one of these ways was through the deinstitutionalization of the 60s and 70s, where we took all these people, these mentally ill people, basically put them out on the streets. This increased the number of mentally ill people incarcerated dramatically, and that number increases every year. So the U.S. Bureau of Justice Statistics found that 75% of women and 60% of men incarcerated in jails and prisons had a mental illness. And also estimated that as many as 1 in 2 Americans with serious mental illness will be arrested at some point in their lives. So how did we get here? One of the ways we got here is through mandatory minimum sentencing, which began in the 80s and 90s. A lot of that was the onset of crack cocaine that brought that on. And it was really just a knee-jerk reaction by misinformed, uninformed lawmakers that knew nothing about drugs, recovery, prison in general. These mandatory minimum sentencing guidelines, which originally were designed for, kingpins and high-level dealers and distributors, but just like everything else in this country, our justice system found a way to use it to their benefit, and it's taking a lot of people that don't deserve to be in prison for 20, 30 years, away from their family just for a simple possession. Some people might never see daylight again just because they got caught with a small amount of cocaine a couple of times in their life. So lawmakers failed to consider that a lot of the people that would be arrested would be drug addicts or people with mental illness, or both. And they also believe that this draconian practice of incarcerating people for years and years was the only way to treat addiction, which obviously is just ridiculous. So diversion courts have been in use for several decades in the United States, and really have been a way for first-time offenders to get a second chance, young people, some people with mental illness. And they're originally designed for misdemeanor or low-level felonies, usually like petty theft or criminal trespassing, prostitution, or simple possession, small amounts of possession. And like I said, historically, it was first-time offenders were a majority of the participants. In 2003, San Antonio Bexar County Jail began their program, which would eventually be thought of as the gold standard of jail diversion programs. It's highly successful, and counties from all over the country would come and visit the Bexar County just because they were so successful, and it was such a well-run program. So the U.S. is currently experiencing one of the worst drug epidemics ever, the opioid epidemic. In the last 20 years, overdose deaths have risen from less than 18,000 to 72,000, and many of those are opioid related. According to a national survey by the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, it estimated that in 2016, over 11 million Americans misused prescription opioids. Nearly 1 million of those used heroin, and 2.1 had a opioid use disorder due to prescription opioids or heroin. And it's been estimated that about half of people who experience mental illnesses will also experience a substance abuse disorder. So cost is one of the problems with this. Keeping these people locked up is very expensive. In Texas alone, it costs about $30,000 to $50,000 a year as of 2015. So what exactly is a jail diversion program? It can be defined as programs that incorporate judicial supervision along with community-based treatment to provide an alternative to incarceration that can reduce the individual and societal burden associated with drug use. The jail diversion program in Dallas County uses evidence-based treatment and works to redirect mentally ill offenders away from the criminal justice system and offer them treatment and second chance. So the goal of the program is to bring fewer mentally ill people to the Dallas County Jail, which is the second largest mental health treatment facility in Texas. So the Dallas County Diversion Program has several programs underneath that umbrella, and I'm just going to go through each one. The first one is the Smart Justice Program, which is it's a really neat program that uses special response teams that consist of specially trained police officers, social workers, and paramedics. And whenever there's a call of a suspected mentally ill person or the need for the team, they go out there to the site and they do a quick overall health assessment, mental health assessment, physical health assessment, and then from there they decide what the next course of treatment is going to be. Is it jail? Is it Parkland's emergency psych ward? And then from there, they'll, if the person's not deemed a flight risk or danger to himself or anyone else, they'll make a bond recommendation to the judge, and from there the judge will set the terms of the bond and conditions of the program. So next we have the Divert Court Program, which stands for the Dallas Initiative for Diversion and Expedited Rehabilitation Treatment. And this is a program where the participants are supervised by the judge, and through services of Dallas County and some of the providers, they provide treatment, and case management, kind of help these people get what they need and where they need to go in terms of recovery, medication, whatever the situation may be. Participants in this program, they must attend an inpatient or outpatient substance abuse treatment or mental health program. And the goal of the program is to close the revolving door to the criminal justice system by helping offenders return to the community as sober, productive, and law-abiding citizens. So next we have the Serial Inebriate Program. This is designed for people that are chronic, low-level drug offenders. You know, they've been arrested several times for small amounts of drugs or paraphernalia. They're known drug addicts or drug users within the community, and this is designed. These people aren't serious lawbreakers, so the program is designed for these users that have been doing it for a while and have found it really hard to get away from that life, and it helps steer offenders away from the criminal justice system and into substance abuse treatment. So next is the misdemeanor mental health court. This is led by Judge Kristen Wade of Dallas County Criminal Court APP1. It's a voluntary program. It lasts for 6 months, and participants are assigned a specialized community supervision officer, which is a lot like a probation officer, but more specialized, more of a mental health specialization. And they work with mental health providers to ensure that the participants of the program are following the conditions of the treatment, taking their medication, attending classes or group meetings, whatever the case may be. Next, we have the Atlas Court, which stands for Achieving True Liberty and Success. And this is led by Judge Teresa Hawthorne. And it's a felony mental health court, a lot like the misdemeanor, except for this one is for felony offenders and that are on probation already and that have a diagnosis, a mental health diagnosis, mental illness diagnosis. And a lot of times these people, when their probation is revoked, they are immediately just sent to prison. For these people that qualify for the program, instead of just shipping them off for infractions, which a lot of times has to do with money, not paying their fines or whatnot, this works close with mental health providers like MetroCare, and they also have a specialized officer, supervision officer, and case managers that to ensure that the offender is complying with the conditions provided by the court. Next, we have the STAC program. The stands for Successful Treatment of Addiction Through Collaboration, and this is led by Magistrate Judge Leila Mays. This is a reentry program for offenders that have completed inpatient treatment program at the Dallas County Judicial Treatment Center. These are for people that have already been entered into the diversion program, have gone through the treatment, and then are being re-released into society. And they undergo clinical assessments, and they're reevaluated once they complete the program. And they receive ongoing outpatient treatment, individual counseling, and probation supervision that continues for 6 to 8 months upon their release. Next is the Dual Diagnosis Aftercare Program, and this is led by Judge Jennifer Bennett of the 265th Judicial District Court. This program is specifically for dual diagnosis, people with mental health issues and addiction. And so what it is and once they complete clinical assessment and they are diagnosed with the mental illness, they will attend a 90-day inpatient treatment program at the Dual Diagnosis Center of Dallas County. And this is through the Dallas County Judicial Treatment Center, much like the treatment center we talked about in the last slide. And once they've completed this and they get approved for reentry, they must maintain conditions set by the court, and properly take their medications and receive ongoing substance abuse treatment. And again, they have the specialized supervision officers that that help them get through this. So the goals of the program are pretty simple. Obviously, they want to reduce the number of people entering into the Dallas County Jail program, jail facility, and reduce the prison population, and try to give people a second chance, especially people with mental illness and addiction. They the fear, the threat of going to prison if you continue to use drugs, as scary as that is for some people, those with an addiction, it doesn't stop them. And as much as they want to, they just can't. Even the fear of incarceration, the fear of losing their family, even the fear of death, it doesn't compare to the need they have for the drug. And that will override pretty much everything else, any other decision they make. And these programs, offer these people that, they're not murderers, they're not rapists. Just offers them a second chance to, not just to get released back into society and do it all over again, but to get some real treatment, real help that they wouldn't get in Texas prisons. If any at all, they get very little, even mentally ill people. So the policy goals: reduce arrests, recidivism, reduce the number of mentally ill people moving through Dallas County Jail, expand specially trained personnel like the emergency response team. Within the police force, maybe more officers that are specially trained for this, and just to provide more Dallasites the opportunity to address the underlying issues of their addiction. So, recommendations for this program. The studies have shown that there's a direct link between the amount of community mental health providers and the number of incarcerated people with mental illness. So several things should happen before we can get this down. Further development, partnerships between police department and mental health providers at the street level, I believe, are needed. Police, social workers, and other community stakeholders need to preemptively connect with individuals that are in need of mental health services. Instead of just waiting for those individuals to commit crimes before they can begin treatment, police officers that have a beat that they travel every day, neighborhood that they're in and out of every day, they know who the drug addicts are, they know who the dealers are, they know who the homeless people are, they know who the crazy people are. Excuse my term there. But I believe that they need to be a little bit more proactive as far as addressing these people that obviously need help and try to nudge them towards the help they need, instead of just waiting for them to commit another crime. So my recommendations would be to expand qualification parameters. Make it not so many limitations or regulations on who can come, as long as they have an addiction or mental illness. They should be allowed into the program, and as long as they're not violent, they don't have a violent offense or a violent background. So focus on rehabilitation, of course, instead of punishment. And like I said before, more proactive programs within the community. And I believe they should increase access to the mental health providers within the community. And you know, for people that like I said, people that known mental illnesses that do have an arrest history, try to get them in before they commit another crime. And also, most importantly, I think, is to allow certain people multiple opportunities to participate in diversion programs. Someone that's mentally ill, someone with severe addiction, you know, the first time out usually doesn't work, and that goes for treatment centers. And this is really not much different. You know, there's people with addiction are gonna reoffend probably several times before they finally catch on, if they ever do. And I think these programs should be a little more open to return offenders. It shouldn't be a revolving door like the prison program, like our justice system, but a little more understanding of the people and the individual that's the average individual that's in the program. Well, so this conclusion, it's become painfully obvious that our current criminal justice system is profoundly broken on nearly every level. And this is especially true for mental health and or addiction issues. Unfortunately, as long as private prisons are allowed to operate in the U.S., many of these problems will continue. However, there has been a movement towards prison reform lately, and recently in the news, the First Step Act has gained a lot of attention, and that was Senator Mike Lee that initially presented the act, and as it stands right now, it looks like that it's going to pass through Senate and eventually should be passed. A lot more could be done. This is a good start. It's definitely not a fix-all, but it's a start. And I think more alternatives are needed throughout the country than jails and prisons. And diversion programs such as this are good alternatives that a lot of these counties and states can start to explore. There's got to be alternatives out there offered. You know, we say that this has got to change, but there has to be alternate programs to offer before state government, state or county government will do anything about it. Typically, they're not the ones that will create the change needed. You know, the programs needed for change. So anyway, that's it. These are my references, and that's all I have.